Welcome back to another episode of Vkind Connects. I'm your host, Shabnam Islam. It's a new year and we are celebrating Veganuary all month long with an extra special series of Connects interviews highlighting members of our Vkind community, asking them why they went vegan and how it's changed their lives. And today we have a California girl born and raised, Allison Olmstead. It is so awesome to have you on the show, Allison, because you are an intrinsic part of our Vkind community.
Well, thank you so much.
I know our family and our team here really adores you. And we really just wanted to highlight your story. Like, why did you decide to go vegan?
Whew, it's a long story, all right? It's a couple decades, so I'll try to give you the TLDR version. So, like you said, I was raised in California, right? So I've been raised vegetarian. I was very lucky to have a dad who stopped eating meat in the 70s. So growing up, didn't eat animals, but at the same time, like a lot of people, in the 80s and 90s thought, well, we're not killing the cows to get the milk. We're not killing the chickens to get the eggs. So like that's ethical and that's good enough. And then of course in the late 90s, I had to rebel and go vegan, like much to my parents' dismay. You would think that they would say, wow, that's so cool. But they were like, my mom was just aghast that like the chickens that she raised in our backyard weren't good enough. And like, she thought I didn't want to eat the eggs when it really, when I read about veganism, it just grossed me out to where I was like, I don't want to eat eggs anymore. And, just swap out the butter that we were cooking different things in, like vegetables, for olive oil. And they slowly came around, but it was still really rough because it was the 90s. And like, we didn't have vegan restaurants. We didn't have the internet. I couldn't go to the grocery store with an app that scans barcodes that tells me if something's vegan or not. And so it was pretty rough, and I ate pretty bare bones for a while, and that's obviously changed now in 2023. It's like all of those excuses kind of went away. Like the education is there, the information is front and center so much more than it was 20 years ago, because we have social media and we have all of these organizations like yours that are promoting veganism. Because in the late 90s, it was very extreme. It was seen as too far. You're going too far. You're being too extreme. You're going to starve. You're going to be malnourished. And now, decades later, if you talk to somebody in the medical field or you talk to somebody that's just a casual, like health conscious person, they're not going to attack you the way that people used to grill me, decades ago about like, are you going to be able to like grow strong bones and things like that? And the information was not at the tip of our fingers in our smartphones the way it is now. So it was a rough go back then, and it was definitely like challenging to find vegan analogs. So I just went without for the longest time. But now we're so blessed with everything that we have all around us.
And I love that you said that, because it's such a poignant fact that like having the app, being able to know where to go, what products to buy, there was no impossible. There was nothing of that sort.
Nothing.
So how has it been for you now, traversing almost 3 decades later into the veganism sphere, with all of these new food tech science-based foods like Impossible or Follow Your Heart or Kite Hill? And do you find yourself actually consuming more of these products now, or is it something that you're kind of used to just not having in your diet?
Oh, I definitely take advantage of those. Like being vegetarian my whole life, cheese was like a major food group. So when cheese finally came around in the vegan products that taste good and melts and is more similar to cheese, I definitely take advantage of that. I do make a lot of my own because there's so many great resources and cookbooks out there and products and ingredients that you can find now. So I definitely try to balance those things with just seeking a balance between buying too many ready-made things. And also I love to cook. So I love to make things when I can as well. And, going to pop-ups and going to different grocery stores is like an adventure. I've always been really into food. I at one point wanted to work in the restaurant industry again when I was vegan. So that was rough. Didn't quite work out, but like, working in a restaurant and being asked to chop up meat until the point I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. Can you please put me on the cold station so I don't have to cut chicken anymore? because there wasn't a big vegan restaurant industry and there were no culinary programs for vegans at the time. So as I was looking at cooking schools, I would have had to do a mainstream program. But now if you want to be a vegan chef, that's a viable career. And
Absolutely,
even
it is.
be a restaurant food critic, and I was a vegetarian. I was like probably 14, and my family was like, but you're going to have to eat meat because restaurant critics can't be vegetarian. All these things are like, those rules don't exist anymore. All of that's been completely eliminated. We
And
can.
yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, because what I really love about this is that you talked briefly about the utilization of the internet or applications as being able to now traverse the plant-based sphere. But you've also really taken advantage of the internet as a source of now having a career in the plant-based sphere. Tell us a little bit about Allison's Goods.
Sure. A few years ago, I decided on a career change. I, worked in the private sector. I had been a teacher for a decade, and I thought, what's my passion? What do I really know? And it was veganism. So I made a whole list of different businesses that I could start or projects that I could undertake. And the first one I was going to do would be like a small foods business. And that didn't work out for a number of barriers financially and time wise. That was 2018, 2019. So I decided to do something that was not food based, but still vegan. And that doesn't make as much sense to a lot of people because they just associate veganism with food. Originally I was going to sell sauces and jams and vegan cheese and small batch products that would have to be refrigerated and prepared in a commercial kitchen. But I pivoted to what can I make in my garage and sell. And I've always been really into scented products, but I'm extremely sensitive. And I've always had sensitive skin, as well as being very sensitive to certain scents and products, and always preferred small batch or natural based products, from soap to cleaning products in my home. So I decided I had all this knowledge already and wanted to stick to something that was all vegan and cruelty free, and started my business in 2019, just making candles, and expanded that to soap and skincare, hair care, shampoo bars, and perfume. So the first places I went were vegan pop-ups in 2019, was to go to a pop-up that was, mostly food, people selling tacos and burgers and desserts, and say, do you want merchandise as well? Because everything I make is vegan. I'll fit into your market. And that's really where I found my people. And that's really where people understood that what they were buying from me matched them in, the veganism and the ethical standpoint, but was also matching up with other things that there's huge overlap in the vegan community with people that are aware of the toxins that are in our homes and can be put on our bodies or in our bodies, and things being small batch and handmade with ethical tracing of supplies and suppliers and ingredients. So it's a really niche place for me to be, but I'm not the only vegan candle maker out there, not the only vegan soap company out there, but I just chose to really dig into my vegan community at pop-ups and markets and advertise that way, so that people, again, when you walk in somewhere, everything's vegan, it kind of takes that weight off of your shoulders of having to read everything and having
even
to
though we still do. Even though we still do.
We still do. We still do. I know. I just bought all the Tabitha Brown at Target stuff, and I was throwing things in my cart, and I'm like, this is so weird because I'm not paying attention to what's on the ingredients because I trust this fellow vegan, and I know that she's taking care of that for me. So I'm just going to grab it all.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because when we talk about these little small batch or buying local, we are truly, this is truly veganism at its finest, because it's tapping into sustainability. We want to be able to utilize natural resources, not have to focus on so much dependence on importing and exporting of resources, and because that all has a cost in terms of climate impacts, gas, oil, so many things. And where else am I going to get cute as a button avocado earrings that I know are not going to irritate my skin? other than
Yeah.
right there on Allison's Goods.
Right. And I didn't make these earrings. I do like carry vegan adjacent products from other small businesses on my website. So yeah, these are my new favorite earrings. But they make a statement. And like when you wear something like that, you know, it doesn't scream vegan, but people are like, oh, I love your avocado wings. And you're like, I love avocados. And then you start talking about food with a random stranger in the grocery store. At least that's me. Like I'm not super social, but if I'm like in the produce section or in the like vegan section of my local market and I can talk to somebody about veganism, I'll make it happen. I'm just like that.
I love your tricks. Like
Yeah.
these are just your way to start like planting the seeds
Yeah.
towards leading you to the other side.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, Allison, you know, you've lived a life where I think is of great privilege, right? You come from a family who connected the dots early and that allowed you to do
Yeah.
so. But what do
Mhm.
you say for those people that maybe don't come from that background and are still
Yeah.
fighting with that desire for cheese, for meat? What message do you have?
Oh, sure. My like biggest tagline that I keep like around me, or you could say, I don't know, intention that I always said is perseverance. And like things are always changing. Whoever, you know, is out there and struggling with like, I really want that cheeseburger. There are vegan cheeseburgers near you. You know, go on Vkind, go online, Google what's around you, satisfy that craving because it isn't all or nothing anymore. It isn't, I have to eat a bunch of raw food or I have to cook everything from scratch myself. It's okay to give into those cravings. And if you want to feel good when you eat it and not, you know, feel sick after eating meat when you've given it up, you can find those fun vegan substitutions. And I think a lot of people do try to like either overdo it too fast. And I know I did that because you know, I wasn't perfectly vegan these last 20 plus years. I don't want to say how many because I'll tell you how long. But like there were times when I would just like break down and wanted a donut so bad. And so I'd go eat a donut and then I feel really gross afterwards because like it wouldn't do well in my stomach. And now I can find vegan donuts. So it just took me finding those to get that, you know, craving satisfied. And I don't feel bad for having those treats every once in a while or when my body craves it. Because
or if you want a whole damn case of donuts, I don't feel bad about it. You know, because you don't leave with that feeling of heaviness of I mean, you might feel heavy after a box of donuts, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, a whole box.
To eat dairy laden products that have significantly other ingredients and preservatives in them. You just don't really know what you're eating, right?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Yeah, but I feel like there is like this war, and you'll see it online of people saying like, "Oh, if you're vegan, you shouldn't eat, you know, that Carl's Jr. burger that's vegan," or you know, all this infighting about what's vegan enough. And you know, the last decade, we've seen this explosion in vegan products in fast food to regular grocery stores. I shop at a Food for Less, which is a Ralph's or Kroger for anybody else in the US. And they have tons of vegan food now. And they have Beyond and Impossible. And then every once in a while, I'll find like a random thing, like a vegan dairy-free spread that like is from one of their lines that is vegan and says plant-based on the front. So it's like it is in all of those other markets. So all this fighting between the vegan, you're not vegan enough crowd and the people who are like, yeah, I'm just going to eat tons of fast food. Like find your place in the vegan world. If that means that you're going to go eat a Taco Bell because you grew up eating Taco Bell and that's your comfort food, and other people are telling you like, oh, that's not clean or whatever word they're going to make up. Just those aren't your people. And those aren't the people you're surrounding yourself with. And you're going to see that online. You're going to see it every time on social media. I was, you know, just, you know, some news came out this week for Wonder Eggs that are now, you know, nationwide at Whole Foods. And all the comments were overwhelmingly negative. And it broke my heart because here's a small woman-owned company that has a product that's fully vegan. It's the hard-boiled eggs. They look adorable. And I had to hop on there and say, hey, all of you spouting negative stuff, that product may not be for you. It might be too expensive for you. It might not be at a Whole Foods near you, or you may not have a Whole Foods next to you. That's fine. Stop trying to make everyone else's veganism look like your veganism. If you're going to be, the Taco Bell vegan, like I sometimes am, and going to my local donut shop and supporting their vegan options that used to be one donut and now is 10 varieties a day, or you're going to be growing your own organic kale. Hey, I'm not vegan too. I have organic kale in my garden. I have to find a balance there for myself.
Right.
You can make your own vegan burger from mashed up beans if you want to. You can go buy Impossible off the shelf. You can do both. You don't have to do one all the time or the other all the time. You can find your 80-20 or 50-50 or whatever, because at the end of the day, it's how do you feel when you put these foods into your body? How does your body feel? How does your brain feel? How do your emotions feel ethically if you're doing it for the animals, for the environment, for climate change, for the future, for our children and our children's children? That's what matters, not what, Karen on the internet says about the cross-contamination of that burger at Carl's Jr. Okay?
Well,
She's
great.
not feeding you. She's not buying your burger. She's
Right.
not
But
buying your groceries.
I think the greatest thing about veganism is the message that you said. It is about inviting people to the greener side and showing them that there is a place here. And we here at Vkind really see Allison's Goods as a place that deserves its place in the Vkind world and the vegan world. And that wraps up this episode with Allison Olmsted from California. And to watch this episode of Vkind Connects and many more, go to www.vkindconnects.com and go check her out at AllisonGoods.com.